So hi guys, welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be about Python variables. It is going to be part of my Python series. So if you like this series and if you want more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for further notifications. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I would like to tell you is that this is a Jupyter notebook and here we are going to run all our Python commands. So the first thing is how to declare variables. I'm going to make this cell as a markdown cell and I will just write here the heading of what we are going to learn. So first thing is to declare variables. In Python, to declare the variable, you do not have to specify any data type alongside, just like Java. No, you just write the name of the variable and you just assign a value to it. So here I have defined variable as x and I have assigned a value 10 to it. I will create another variable called as y and I will assign a decimal value to it, and then I will create another variable, for example name, and here I will assign it a string value. So you can see that I do not need any data type associated with the variable. With what value the variable is assigned to, it actually decides the data type of the variable. So there is a method called as type, and if I pass the variable here, for example x, then it will just print here the type of x. So you can see that because I assigned 10, which is an integer, to x, that's why its type became as int. Similarly, if I try to find out the type of y, then it will give me float, and the type of name will be str, that is a short for string. Okay, so that is how you can declare variables, and you can also check their data type as well. So the next thing is how we can decide what should be the variable name. So if you want to name your variable, it is very simple. You can write any alphabetical name like A, B, C, and you can just simply, name it. But if you are using special characters in your variable, or if you are using a numeric variable, numeric letter first in the variable, then that will be a problem and you will get something like invalid syntax. So if you use this, or if you use something like ABC and then hyphen and then you assign like this, so this will also be a syntactical error. So that's why you cannot use hyphen and you cannot start your variable name with a numeric character. But the best practices for declaring variable names in case you have multiple words in a variable name. For example, if my variable name is something like my first variable name equals Python. Okay, so you can see here my variable name is having 4 words, and how I concatenated the variable, I kept the first letter of the first word as small, and then it is followed by all the other words without any spaces, and those words are having their first letter capitalized. So this is called as camel casing, but there is another something called as Pascal casing, or maybe I am giving the name wrong, but this is very heavily used. So you, what you do is that you separate your words with an underscore. So my first variable name equals to tutorial. Okay, so that is how, if you want to print your variables in Jupyter, if you want to print your variables, you do not even have to write the print statement. You just write the name of the variable and you do shift enter, or you can run yourself from the run button here, and you will see the value of the variable is printed. So I can print the value of both the variables I declared, and you can see that both of them are printed, and that is how you can declare the variable names. Now next thing is how we can assign multiple values or multiple variables, some values, if you want to declare and initialize multiple variables at a time. So basically multiple variable assignment. Here it's actually very interesting in Python. So what you have to do, you just have to declare all your multiple variables here, and they all are separated by a comma, and similarly their values are also going to be separated by a comma. So I will just declare three variables here, x, y, and z, and x is assigned a value 1, y is assigned 2, and z is assigned 3. And to prove this, I will just print here x, and you can see if I just print x, and you can see the y is printed as 2 and z is printed as 3. So this is how you can assign multiple variables values at a time. If you just do the reverse of it, like if you want to assign the same value to all the variables, so for example I want to assign x, y, and z a same value, like I want all of them to have something called as Python. Now if I print x, it will be Python. If I print y, it will be Python. If I print z, it will be Python as well. So that's something you can also do. Next thing is that how we can also assign multiple variables values. For example, like if you create a list, for example, if I create a list like programming languages. So here I use a different convention for variable naming. I'm using underscore, and I will just write here names like Java and Python, and I will write here, let's suppose R. Okay, so these are the programming languages. I created a list of these programming languages. Do not worry about all the data types, like Python has a lot of data types: numeric data type, float data type, list, and many other data structures as well. I will explain all of them in the upcoming videos. For now, just understand that I have created a list of 3 variables, and what I will do here is that I will just create 3 variables here separately, and they are all separated by a comma, and I will assign this list to this 3 variables. You can see that it's so amazing that I didn't get any error here, and now if I just print x, y, and z, all my 3 variables are assigned the values in the order of the list. So x is assigned the first value, y is assigned the second one, and z is assigned the third one. So you see that how amazing this is. Okay, now one thing I wanted to show you, which is a little bit of introduction about strings here, because you might want to learn about it a little bit. So I will just operate it as strings and operators. Okay, so the first thing about string is that in Python, if you declare a string, so if I declare Python as in double quotes here, and I wrote y, and I am using single quotes to declare Python. So x and y, both of the variables are actually string variables. So in Python, you can declare your string with single quote or with double quotes. It doesn't matter, both of them will be called as string variable. Now we will see how you can use operators with string. Okay, so here I will show you. So let's suppose z is equals to x. Oh, okay. So let's assign a different variable to y first. So let's see, y is language and x is Python, right? So if I make z equals to x plus y. Okay, now I'm printing z. So you can either in Jupyter Notebook, you can either just write the variable name. For example, I can just write here z and do shift and enter, and my variable will be printed. Or the second way is that you can write a print method and pass the variable in that print method. In both of the cases, you will be able to print the value of that particular variable. And you can see that the plus operator in Python works as a concatenation operator, and it concatenated both the values. So X was Python and Y was language, and we got a word called as Python language, a concatenated word. Let's see how plus works with a numeric variable. So if I use x equals to 10 and y equals to, let's suppose, 5, if I do z equals to x plus y, in that case, if I print z, it will be 15. Okay, so that is how it works. Now we will see something different, right? What if I want to add a numeric variable and a string variable? So if x is 10 and y equals to Python, and if I do z equals to x plus y, then what will happen? Let's see. You can see that we got an error. This is an unsupported operand type between an integer and a string. So you cannot add an integer and a string. If you want to add an integer to a string, first of all, you cannot do that. But let's suppose you just wanted that 10 should be concatenated with Python. You want to concatenate both of them. Then in that case, you have to convert 10 also in string. So what you can do is you can write str and put a bracket and pass x or your numeric variable inside it, and now your plus will work as a concatenation operator instead of an addition operator. And now if you do shift plus enter, you can see that z is printed as 10 concatenated with Python, so 10 Python. Okay, and now another thing, so you saw plus operator. Now let's see what multiplication operator does. Okay, so if x equals to, let's suppose, a something called as a, okay, and I do y equals to x multiply by 5. Now if I print y, let's see what happens. You can see that now y has become 5 times a. So in case of Python, if we use plus operator, it concatenates the next variable. If we do multiplication operator with a numeric, then what it will do is it will just multiply that string into that number of times, and it will show us the result. Okay, now we will see what does minus operator does. Okay, so let's see, I did a b c and y equals to c, and now z equals to x minus y. So some of you might say it will become, the z will become ab, so abc minus c becomes ab, right? But no, that will not happen. Why? Because in string only concatenation and multiplication operations are supported. Minus operation, division operation, they are not supported. Okay, let's see if I do division also. Oh, sorry, division also, and you can see that is also not supported. Okay, so we will go to our next topic in variables, and that topic is called as what is the scope of variables. So scope of variables and how we can declare global variables. Okay, so first of all, I want to say how we can create functions in Python. Okay, okay, let's say x is equals to 5 here, okay, or 10 here. Okay, now if I do shift enter, and now if I want to access this x in the next cell, you can see that I can access the value which is assigned to it, that was 10, and I can easily print it out that this is 10 value. Now let's suppose I created a function. So we will cover functions in detail in the upcoming videos. But let's suppose if I create a function like a function something like my function, my function. Okay, and in this function what you are doing is you are creating another variable, same variable. This is not this variable is also called as x, and now I have assigned this a string value. Let's suppose I assigned it Python, okay? Or let's suppose so let's suppose I assigned it the value Python, and now here I am printing x, okay? So now here I created a function where also I have declared a variable called as x, and in above cells also I declared a variable called as x. Now if I print x here, you can see that 10 value is printed. But if I call this function, my function, in that case, it will print Python. So what does it mean is that x is a variable which is declared outside the function. So that is why its scope is actually overall this Jupyter notebook. But whatever variables are declared inside a function or inside a class or inside a particular data structure, their scope is inside that only. So this x scope is only inside this function. So if this function is being called, this x value of Python is printed. But if we are just printing x somewhere, anywhere, then its value is printed as 10. Okay, so that was about functions. Now and that was about the scope. So kind of you can say that x is a sort of is having a local scope. It is only valid inside its local function, but this x is actually available like globally. Okay, now let's suppose I want to create a function. Let's suppose in this function I want to create a variable, but I want this variable to be available outside of this function also. So for example, I created an x here, I assigned it a value of 10, and yes, it prints 10, but I want this x to become global. I do not want the above x to become global variable. So I want that I create a value here, and even if I am just printing this variable outside, it should print the value Python and not the value 10. So what I will do here, I will create this function, my function, and I will write global x, and x becomes equals to Python. And now I have created this function, and first of all I will have to call this function because otherwise it will not get executed. Okay, so I call this function and it is Python. And now if I print what is x, you can see that once we have executed this function, it set the global value of x as Python. It declared x as a global variable, and that is why the earlier value of 10 is overridden by it. And now if we print x just like that, and it is like not being called as a part of a function, we still see the value is printed as Python but not the numeric 10. So that was about global variable. If you want to declare a global variable in your function, it will be accessible from outside world as well. But if you do not make these variables as global, you won't be able to access them or access their exact value outside the scope of this function. So that is the difference between global variables and local variables. So guys, that was all about Python variables. Let me know how you like this video. If you have any comments or any questions, I will be happy to answer them. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please subscribe to my channel, and bye bye.